Welcome back to TheChowTimePod. It's your host, Ren. I got a video today from Everyday Scarlet. I'll link her stuff anyways, but she did a 33-minute video on passport bros and the dangers for women and red pill men hypocrisy. So let's see how this goes. Please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get to that chow. It's chow time. Already you guys see what she looks like. But let's see what she has to say.
Let's talk passport bros.
Let's do.
Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. I make videos to inspire you to be the star of your own life. I decided to tackle the
For you to be the star in your own life. Movie quotes right there already.
very controversial topic of passport bros.
Uh-huh.
Because I woke up this morning and thought, hey, this would be a good day to piss everybody off. If you're not familiar with what the concept of passport bros is, this seems to be a very popular phenomenon. I see it a lot on social media. I feel like my TikTok is just like overwhelmed with people talking about this whole passport bros thing. It's insane. It's not a...
You know what's insane? It's because it's women that are pushing this agenda. That's why women's TikToks are filled with this. Because my TikTok is actually not filled with this at all, even though I do a lot of passport bro content.
New concept. It's pretty much like the modern day version of mail order brides.
No.
Which is essentially what I remember it was like when I was growing up. It's transitioned into everything being online, and it's essentially like these guys who basically are like these 90-day fiance kind of guys. Before
No.
I get into this very controversial topic, I want to have a few disclaimers. For starters, nothing I say in this video is to ever imply that you have to marry or settle down or date someone that is from your country of origin. I have several friends who are American who have met people and are now married to people from other countries, have wonderful, beautiful, happy relationships. They met them just either through travel or through school or something like that. You know, if you're somebody who spends a lot of time traveling or things like that, and you happen to meet someone who's from another country or from another culture and you fall in love and you want to create a life together, wonderful, more power to you. Like, none of this is about people who just happen to be American who decide to marry somebody who isn't American. I also want to note that passport bros themselves often describe them as affluent American men who decide that they want to go to another country.
This is correct. Remember, most passport holders, 60% of them are actually earning 100K or more. I don't understand why people don't understand this. It takes money to be able to travel. Do you think everybody's able to travel? Do you think all men can travel whenever they want? No, it takes money. So these are decently affluent men. Even at 60 to 70 grand a year, even 50 grand a year, that's plenty of money for a single man to be traveling. So I don't understand this whole rhetoric that all these men are just like dusties.
To find a bride because, you know, there's so many issues with American women, right? And I understand, if we're talking about Americans,
yeah, just looking at you, there's one big issue. Just saying.
Imagine if a man is very financially successful here in America. He probably has a lot of opportunities to travel to other countries, so he probably meets women from all over the world, and, you know, hey, if he happens to meet one that he decides he wants to marry and spend his life with, I don't have a problem with that. That's not actually what a passport bro is.
That's actually exactly what a passport bro is. But go on.
They want to act as if they are the affluent guys. That's not exactly what's happening. Like, a passport bro is not just any guy who owns a passport who decides to marry somebody from another country. That's not really what's going on here. I think that the passport bros want...
You think that. You think that. Let's start off with this.
Us to think that, but that's not really what's going on. Now, one thing I've noticed...
So you think that, we think that, you want you to think that. That's a lot of thinking that.
Is that while there are men who are actually doing this, like they are actually using their passport, going to another country and finding a wife, which I'll get into in a minute, the majority of men that I'm seeing, at least online, are talking about doing this. They're not actually doing it. I find it really ironic that you have so many men online who are like, bros, get your passports ready, which implies, for one...
Well, we're telling others because others might not know what's going on in these other countries. So of course we're gonna try to tell. It's like when you found gold. As men, we're not gonna hide the gold. We're gonna be like, "Yo, come help get this gold, got the motherfuckers." Where women, you would hide it for yourself, from what I can tell. But men, we share it because this affects all men, and them being successful and happy is better for all of society. I'm all for it.
One, that you were a grown adult in America who does not already currently have a passport, which probably means that you have not actually taken the time and the steps to show up to get a passport, which is not the hardest thing in the world, but it does take a...
You just have an appointment, fill out some paperwork, and wait. You make it seem like it's freaking it's like the freaking adopting a baby or something.
Bit of effort to do. I find it ironic that these guys all talk about the idea of getting a passport, of how much better it would be if they went to another country and found a...
No, a lot of the people that do the passport bro contests actually do travel. They have experienced these other countries. I see a lot more people that are traveling than are not traveling.
Wife and things like that. But many of them are just talking about it and they're not actually doing it, which is ironic to me because the...
So, like these women that talk about the men that they want and then how high status they are and how they'll never settle. They talk about always marrying this Prince Charming all the time. But it never happens, but they talk about it all the time. Like most modern women talk about how they're going to get that one man that's going to be faithful to them and make fucking $1 million, blah, blah, blah. They talk about it all the time. But it doesn't happen very often.
The reason why most of these guys are not more successful with women is because they don't have the ability to actually plan and follow through with anything.
Mm-hmm. Just like the women that I just spoke of, they also didn't plan or think through anything about a family life. That's why they can't get one.
Now, I'm not encouraging more men to actually do this because I'm going to get into all the reasons why I don't think this is a good idea. But if you are a man who is unsuccessful with women, but you don't actually...
See, they keep thinking that these men are unsuccessful with women. No, most of us are actually pretty successful with women. Just none of the women we actually want to marry. Getting women is not that hard for decently successful men. But getting the women that gives us what we want out of our marriage, that's nearly impossible in the West.
Have the responsibility, dedication, and follow through to even become a passport bro. You're just going to talk about it and threaten to do it.
Just like these women that don't have the knowledge or work ethic to be a housewife or to be a good mother, but yet they talk about it all the time, but yet they never put the effort. And like what you're saying, I can literally say to most modern women at why they're single.
On social media to piss off women, and then you don't know why women...
No. See, this is where you women are incorrect. We didn't do this to piss off women. We did all of this to help our brothers out. Our Asian brothers, our black brothers, our Hispanic brothers, all goddamn brothers. That's why it's called bro. Bro encompasses all of men. So we're trying to help out all of our brothers into a more successful love life. That's what we're doing. We're showing them there's another way. We're not trying to piss you off. You just keep on consuming our content and keep on getting upset and producing your own content about it. That's what's happening.
Are not attracted to you. Anyway, there's so many things that I find wrong with this passport bro phenomenon.
Just like I see so many things wrong with what's on my screen right now.
I don't even really know where to start, but here's the thing. There is a big mentality, and it's not just men and it's not just passport bros, But there is a mentality that many people get into when their life is not going the way they want it to, that someone or something out there, something out in the world, somewhere else, some other thing or person or something is going to come in and make everything better.
This is such projection. Like, this is exactly how women think. Exactly how women think. They think that their lives or whatever it is, this some Prince Charming is going to come and fix everything for them, or somehow everything's going to get fixed. This is not how men think. Men have to go and do the fixing. Unlike women just waiting for shit to happen. Or manifesting whatever they want.
When in reality, it's something inside yourself. Like, you need to find something inside yourself to make your life better. Just going someplace else, just finding a new relationship or finding a new person or getting married or something. I mean, if there's anything that I can teach you from my years of wisdom, and I've never been a passport bro or anything like that, but
yet you're such an expert. Such an expert.
That I've learned in my life, every time I've said, oh my God, if I could just get to this place, or I could just be this thing, or do this thing, or find this person, or get into the situation or something, then everything would be okay. Like
Again, very womanly thought process. Men, we know what it takes, and once we get there, it's not like we're like, yeah, we're done. No, we're like, fuck, now we're here, next goal.
Problems would be solved. I would get to that place, I would achieve that thing, and my problems would all still be there.
Very womanly result also.
Sometimes even more. This addiction that we have generally in our society, and this is not about one specific group of people, I think in general in our society overall, we have this mentality of, well, if we just got to this place or did this thing, then our problems would be solved. That's not going to happen. And that's one of my biggest concerns with this whole idea, is that I think there's a lot of men
again, very womanly thought process, and you're putting it on the passport bros as if that's how their thought process is, and it's not.
We're going to do this because they think that that's going to answer their problems, when it's not only not going to answer their problems, it's going to cause bigger problems for them, and it's also going to cause bigger problems.
We're not looking to do anything. We just want a wife to love. Like, you're making it seem like such a big deal or whatever it is. Most of these men are taken care of in all aspects of their life except for their love life. So the only thing they have to focus on is their love life.
For us collectively, I'd say for the world, but particularly for the country, which I'll get into in a minute. And I know there are going to be men who are going to come to this content and be like, because I've heard it before, like, well, yeah, of course you're afraid, because they know I'm an American woman and they think that I'm so upset that they're leaving. Like, they want to think that American women are upset.
Yeah, you make these videos. What benefits does this really have to your particular audience, really? It doesn't. All it does is rile them up even more and cite them to hate more on passport bros.
Upset about this because we're like, oh no, please don't leave us. Like, we were wrong, we should have wanted you. That's not what's happening, okay? Most of the men that are threatening to leave are not leaving because American women actually want them, but they don't want us. Most of these men are leaving because American women have decided that these men are not meeting our standards.
This is what women assume the reason is. This is exactly what women always seem to want to assume, that the world revolves around them. The world revolves around women. All right? That we can't meet the standards of women here. No, the women here don't meet our standards. You are missing out that men have their own standards. And our standard is submissive housewife that is on our program, that is nice to us. That's the standard we're looking for, and can't seem to find it here. Plenty of you women want the men that are going overseas. You just can't get them to commit. That's why you're shaming them.
Which, by the way, for the men who are being told that women's standards are too high, they're not. That's a lie.
I don't care about women's standards here. Most of them want to be with me still. I care about my standards and how they don't meet my standards. It's so jarring for women to think that men have standards and that we just shouldn't just take you as you are because you're the prize. No, we know that we're the prize, so we have standards for what we want after we've reached our goals and our successfulness.
That these older manipulative men are trying to sell you stuff. Are there women whose standards are ridiculously high? Yes. Are there women whose standards...
Shut up about older men trying to manipulate younger men. Like, you think that's what's going on? That's what women do. Women seem to lie to younger women to manipulate them because these older women are still on the market and they don't want to compete against these younger women. That's what's truly going on, and that's why you think it's the same thing for men. Men don't think this way. Men see an opportunity. If all other men can take this opportunity, we're going to share this goddamn opportunity. That's our thought process.
Standards are absolutely completely normal. Yes. I mean, I literally just opened my TikTok before I went to film this, and I found all this content on aspiring blue-collar wives. Like, there's literally, I mean, gorgeous young women who are aspiring to marry men who are blue-collar workers. So this...
Yeah, so it's barely happening. You know why? Because they couldn't get husbands before, so they had to change up their strategy. So just because people are making content on it doesn't mean there's that many people doing it.
This idea that women are only looking for these billionaire playboys that are going to fly them to Dubai is a complete myth. That is...
We didn't say all women, but a good chunk of you women have gone to Dubai and do whatever you want, and now you want to settle down. You're still... These women are so confused exactly what men want, right? She thinks that just because these women wants to be traditional blue-collar wives, that they qualify to be blue-collar wives. Just because you want to do doesn't mean you didn't put the work in that men want you to be their wife. That's the problem that these women are coming across. Just because you want something doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Absolutely not true. In this case, I'm actually going to say, guys, you are the victims of this. You are the victims of this manipulation that these men are trying to teach you, that women's standards are too high.
Damn, I'm sorry, guys. I've been manipulating everybody this whole time, trying to tell you guys women have too high of standards and to get you guys out of this country for whatever reason.
They're not. If you don't believe it, when I say it as a woman, listen to Jordan Peterson. He said it over and over and over again. You know, if women are rejecting you, if all women are rejecting you, meaning all women in America are rejecting you, it's on you. Like, do some work.
See, you keep thinking, again, I can't believe you brought up Jordan Peterson. You don't think the men here listen to the man? The men in this space know of this so-called Jordan Peterson. And we know if it was constantly getting denied, it'd be a problem. If women in the West aren't even... See, this is the part that Jordan Peterson does not speak about, is that these women's preferences do not care for the average man. So most average women don't want average men. So how can these average men even attempt to date these women? Right?
Work on yourself. Like, every man in America has the ability to work on themselves to be a protector and provider for his family.
Correct. And that's why we would rather do it with a woman that is fit, friendly, and submissive to us, instead of these Western women that think they're going to be good wives, think they're going to be good mothers, that think they're the table.
That's what America stands for. That's literally the American dream of everyone having the opportunity to do that. That is why there are people, men and women from other countries, that are dying, literally dying, to come here, to cross the border, because they believe that this life, that what America stands for is freedom, it's liberty, it's the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, the opportunities here are awesome. We're not saying anything wrong with the opportunities of like growing wealth. Just the opportunity of love and a family has gone down the drain.
There are people who are dying to come here. I mean, literally dying, because they would rather come here and risk dying than stay where they are.
And you do know that there's literally thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people dying in the US of poverty. Also, you do know that, right?
There's something to that. There's something to the fact that as a country in general, young men have been manipulated into thinking that they're not ever going to be good enough for women. And a lot of this is because we have such a lack of masculine leadership. And I talk about this in many other videos where I dive into this deeper, but there are a lot of men who are basically being set up to fail. And I think that's absolutely a thing. I have sympathy for many of these men who just feel like it's hopeless and they feel like they just have to go someplace else. But I can assure you guys, it's not going to be just better someplace else. And I'll get into why in a minute. What's actually going on with the actual official passport bros, right? You get these men.
See, not a passport bro, but what is actually going on. So she's an expert, right? She's not a passport bro herself, but she knows what's actually going on. Please tell us.
Who, for whatever reason, don't feel like they're getting women in the United States. And it is not because the men are rejecting them. It is because the women have deemed these men as not actually being quality men. That's what's happening.
If you want to say that,
sure. They cannot protect and provide for women here in this country. And yes, the cost of living in America is high. So it makes a certain amount of...
It's not that we don't want to. We can't. It's just we don't want to protect the women in the West. We don't think that they deserve our protection. And that's actually a big societal problem. And I agree with that.
Sense, and I can definitely sympathize if you are somebody whose lifestyle is only going to afford a certain, a certain type of living. If you have the ability to move to some place where the cost of living is more in line with your lifestyle, it makes sense, right? Yeah. If that happens to be another country, makes sense. No issue with that. What's actually happening with these passport bros?
That's exactly what passport bros are doing. You are literally contradicting everything that the passport bros are actually doing with your actual facts.
They're deciding that life is too difficult here in the United States. So they have this fantasy that life will be better in another country, which I'm pretty sure that we've seen from the people who are trying to get here from other countries that that's probably not true.
They don't earn that much in those other countries. That's why they want to come here to earn. If we're able to earn as much as we can in this country and then move to those other countries, our dollar goes much further. That's the reason why they want to come here, because the opportunity of making money is much greater here in the US. But the opportunity of a happy life is much greater outside of the US.
And a lot of these guys are going to get to these other countries and realize that things are not as peachy keen as they are thinking that they are. They're probably going to...
No, they've been visiting and been realizing, oh, it's much more laid back. It's really relaxing. Everybody's friendly. Everybody likes them. Not total opposite of what you're saying.
Trouble there too. They may be able to live a little bit better because they may have more money or more of an income or something, but life is not necessarily all going to be roses and butterflies in another country. Particularly if they don't know the language or things like that. I mean, I think a lot of these guys are going to get themselves in situations they're not prepared for. What a lot of these guys want to do is they want to go to this other country, find a woman, and then bring her back here. If these guys...
She's such an expert, guys. No, that's not what we want to do. Maybe some. But most passport bros have realized bringing women back here are just going to westernize them. So we'd rather just stay over the countries that we choose to stay at or marry at and live our lives out.
They want to go to another country and they want to live there and they want to find a mate and whatever, fine. The trouble that I see is when they decide to go over there, find a woman, and bring her back here. That's where you start to get some issues. The problem with them going to these other countries to find these women is these men are going to very poor countries where many of the women there do not have many options. Essentially what they're going to do is find a woman.
It always has to do with poor, doesn't it? You literally think all other countries are just dirt poor. That's not the case. If you go to like the capital of almost every country, it is very westernized, very industrial, very modern.
Many of them are very young. Because in many of these countries they're going to, the legally...
Now here comes the whole pedo thing again. Very young. God damn these women.
Age of consent is much younger than the United States, which is very...
No. Age of consent in a lot of places is still 18.
very disturbing, and I'm not going to get into all the reasons why that is disturbing. If you don't understand why that is disturbing, I'm not going to go down that road in this video. If you don't see why that's disturbing, get some help. They're going after these women who are very young, very vulnerable, very naive, usually in poor families.
Young, vulnerable, naive, poor. That's what you literally think all passport bros just want. Just poor people. Like you they have more class than you, lady.
And they're essentially buying these women from their families, which I'm sorry.
Because there's something called a dowry, lady. Just because Western people don't value their women enough to put a price on them, in a sense, to say, if you want to marry this person, you have to at least have this much money. It's not buying them. It's showing that you can support her and her life by showing that you've done the work to save money. People don't realize what that actually means. For a man to have saved up $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to get married is an actual feat in its own, especially in these countries. This is why it's done, to show that that man is capable of taking care of his wife.
Is human trafficking. It's human trafficking, plain and simple. You're going to another country.
It's funny because you don't think the U.S. is not going to be upset about this when they're going there to marry or whatever young women and bringing them over. And do you know, these women actually don't even know what human trafficking really is.
To buy a wife out of poverty and bring her back here to essentially be your housekeeper and sex slave. It's human trafficking. You can throw a marriage certificate on it to make it look more wholesome, but it's human trafficking. That's what it is. We need to just call it what it is and not put some kind of cutesy passport bro name on it, because it really is human trafficking. In many cases.
So all the women that did the 90-Day Fiancé, are they human trafficking too? Are they? You mentioned that show. They're doing the exact same thing that you're mentioning now. But yet, you want to talk shit on the passport bros, but all these women that do the same thing, wouldn't you consider that the same thing then? Because they bring these men over for sex and slavery and pretty much like taking care of the house just for the green card. No? No, huh?
Cases where these girls are underage, it's pedophilia. I can have a lot of sympathy for men when they're struggling and what they're going through, and the fact that, yes, the world is absolutely set up today for men to fail, and there's a lot of ways that we hold men down and we destroy masculinity, and there's a
this is one of those ways that you're doing it right now.
lot of stuff that's going on, but you know what?
It's literally calling all passport bros pedos. That's what you literally just did in your statement, is calling all or most passport bros are going out to sex traffic. That's a powerful statement, lady.
Human trafficking and pedophilia, there's no excuse for that. Ever. Like, ever. Aside from that, I was under the impression, maybe naively, that collectively, as a country, the United States got together and agreed that going to another country, a poor country, and buying people to bring them back here as our slaves was not a good thing. We actually passed laws against it. We had a whole...
As most places have laws against it too, lady. You're fucking dumb. You don't think these third world countries have laws against human trafficking and slavery? You think these other countries just want their young women to get picked up and stolen from their country and taken to another country and just be sex slaves? You think these countries are allowing that? On a global scale, as you assume it's happening? Damn, lady.
Civil war about it. And now all of a sudden, all these American men who can't get women in the United States have decided, oh, well, there's an exception for me. I'm gonna go buy a woman in another country and decide to bring her back here to be a slave. That's what it is. Plain and simple what it is. I told you, I woke up today and said I want to piss some people off. The argument that...
Yeah, because you're spewing just fucking feminist rhetoric and propaganda.
These men love to use is, well, women in those countries are more feminine. There's a reason why women in those countries are more feminine, because the men in those countries are more masculine. Women adapt to their environment. Women are responsive to men. You don't like how women are acting, I guarantee you it's their response to how the men are acting. That's how the
No. So feminism in the US, they became like this because the men were doing whatever. No, they wanted their own freedoms. They wanted their own thing. It has nothing to do with men. Like, yeah, they want to say men oppress them, but it's their goal. Their whole goal is for their own freedoms and their own rights. It has never had to do anything else.
masculine feminine works. That's polarity right there. Think about it like this. The feminine is like the flower. The masculine is like the gardener. If the gardener wants a flower to bloom and open, to be in its full feminine expression, then the gardener has to create a safe environment for that flower to flourish.
So women are just dying left and right because there's not gardeners taking care of them? Is that what you're saying? So women were not submissive or docile before without gardeners, without men making them docile and submissive? So they're boss babes until a man comes along and waters them and turns them into submissive women? Is that how it works for you? Because that sounds outrageous.
If the gardener creates a toxic environment for that flower.
Oh, so the gardener does everything now. Is that what you're saying? So the gardener, without the gardener, how is there even a flower then? If this is your analogy that you're going about. If everything that the gardener does affects the flower, how is the flower there in the first place without the gardener? How is there a flower in the first place? Your analogy is a little off.
Not only is the flower not going to bloom, but he's probably going to get a whole lot of angry weeds that decide that they're going to come in and destroy everything. If you get a whole bunch of angry women that hate men in America, it's a result of the gardener not actually creating a safe, nurturing environment.
What the fuck? Damn. Feminism really got this lady. You don't think that, the patriarchy and, all men are evil, all men should die, and we don't need no men? That's all men's fault, huh? That's because we did things to women to make them think that way. Yet throughout all of history, men have been the same until more recently when women had rights and they chose to do all these ridiculous shit.
For the feminine to flourish. There actually was just a bit that I saw actually just this morning of Chris Rock's comedy special. I haven't watched the whole thing, but he was talking about, like, if you want to move to a nice neighborhood, find the neighborhood where women are voluntarily not working. If you have a neighborhood where women are voluntarily not working, you know that's a good neighborhood to be in.
Yet, that is not what's pushed out there, lady, and you know this. Most women that are voluntarily not working are seen as pick-me's, are looked down upon as housewives, as slaves. So most women are working and choosing to work and choosing to be independent. You're missing out on half of the rhetoric that men care about. If you're independent, don't need no man, then why would men want to stay here? Why?
Why? Because it's a safe environment. Because the environments where women feel safe to naturally flourish into their even traditional feminine roles, to be in their full feminine expression, those are safe environments. Who creates those safe environments? The masculine, men. They build the safe environment the feminine can flourish in. So if you have a whole society, if you think that all the women in the United States, all the women here in the United States are all...
No one ever said all. You just keep wanting to put all on everything, especially against us men too.
Not being feminine enough. You gotta look to the world that the masculine has created. If you don't create a world where women can flourish in their feminine, you gotta look to the men. Because in reality, like men love to point out, they built the world. They built the roads, they built the buildings, they built the world. They love to point that out, even though women are the ones who birthed all the men. But we'll get past that first.
So birthing all the men gives you all this infrastructure and everything, huh? Is that what you're saying? Because birthing the men helped build everything. No, the men themselves built everything so you can have births easier. Women's logic.
For a second. To be honest, well, I have not traveled much at all.
Really? Oh my God! I thought you were an expert.
Outside of the United States. I have talked to several people about this topic, people who've traveled a lot in like other countries and other parts of the world, and many of them have confirmed that a lot of American men are going to be very surprised when they go to these other cultures, and yes, they'll find more traditional women, but these traditional women are going to hold the men to an even higher standard than the women in America are going to.
No. Yes, there's higher standards for being a good husband. It's not higher standards as I need fucking $100,000. I need him to be 6 foot and gorgeous. We fit. You do realize most men fit the standard of most other women outside of the US. Their standard is loyalty, a good provider, and a loving husband. And most men actually fit those categories. They don't care so much about the income as much. Yes, income matters, but not as much as women in the West care.
Hold them to. Modern women are not holding men to nearly as high a standard as traditional women are going to.
Yeah, you don't hold high standards to those top 5% men. You just let them do whatever you want. But then when it comes to everyone else, your standards are beyond receivable.
Hold men to, because traditional women really put so much of their faith and trust in a partner. They're gonna have to have a partner who can prove that
I didn't realize there were that many traditional women out there. Like
he is a strong masculine man, whereas modern women don't necessarily expect as much from men, because for one, a lot of modern women have been conditioned to not ask for too much, but also a lot of modern women are like, well,
is this bitch on social media? This bitch, she says she's on TikTok and she's saying that modern women don't ask for much. You're fucking women are so delusional.
Hey, I can pay whatever he can't pay for, or I'll split the bill or something. Whereas a lot of these American men are going to go to other.
She really doesn't watch content for shit. Yeah. Most of these women that are strong and independent still want a man to pay for everything. So they're not traditional, but yet want a man to do every traditional fucking role.
Countries, and I had a guy who commented on a video that wasn't really about this topic specifically, but he was talking about this idea of men going to other countries and how he was saying that, you know, if you as a man go to some of these other countries with these more traditional women and you take her on a date, if you try something on that date, like you try to hook up with her on that date, like her brothers will all come and kill you.
You really think majority of men out there are trying to sleep with women on the first date? Most of these men can't even get dates. Only the upper echelon of men know they can sleep with a woman on the first date. Only a very few select men. I don't think very many men on first dates are just, yeah, fucking grabbing or doing whatever it is, because it's illegal here too, lady. You're fucking stupid.
Like, it's not like it is here in America where it's like guys can just kind of do whatever or try to get a woman into bed or things like that. Some of these other countries, a lot of these American men are gonna have.
The reason we were able to do it here is because your women's are loose. They let us do it. That's why we can do it. These women won't, so we won't. Men conform to women's standards.
Have a big wake-up call. The women there are traditional for a reason. The women there are more feminine for a reason. Because the men are more traditional, because the men are more masculine. Are there going to be some, I would say, families who are probably going to basically push their daughters off on some of these guys? Because I do think in a lot of other countries, especially in poorer countries, they believe that all Americans are wealthy. You know what I mean? I think in a
Never traveled. never traveled. They just assume that all Americans are wealthy. That these poor families are just gonna shove their daughters off to these wealthy American men. Because these people don't care for their daughters. They don't care for their family members. You really view people in other countries as savages, don't you? You view them as more feminine, more masculine, but you also view them as very savage because they're just selling off their daughters left and right for money. They have no moral values to themselves other than money, unlike the women in the US, right?
A lot of other places in the world that there's this idea that a man from America may have more money and status than he actually does. He may actually have more money and status than maybe everybody in that community or something like that. So I do think there are a lot of women who may even get pushed or maybe even convinced, or they may even decide on their own to be with an American man because they think that he's going to offer them the world. And you actually see this a lot in examples from, like, I don't know if it's actually specifically 90 Day Fiance or shows similar to that.
And you're going to use 90 Day Fiance as your go-to...
It would be one thing if these men were actually showing up and telling these women exactly what they were getting themselves into. If these women are, if they are legal adults, and these women are going into this where the man's like, hey, I make this amount of money, we can afford this amount of lifestyle, I would like a woman who will do X, Y, and Z, this is what I'm going to bring to the relationship. If this is what they were completely being upfront about, and everybody as an adult made the decision, that's one thing. However, what you see in a lot of these situations is the...
What do you see? Where are you seeing these situations from? Like, where are you pulling out of this anecdotal evidence from? Or where is this evidence coming? Where are you seeing this? I don't see this.
The men that convince these women that they're going to have these Kardashian type lifestyles here in America, or even where they're from, and these women get caught up in this, like...
So you never traveled, don't know anything, but yet you think you talk to enough of these women to know that they all been lied to, thinking that they're coming here for a Kim Kardashian lifestyle. The things that women spew out.
That they're gonna have, you know, Louis Vuitton, and they're gonna have Christian Louboutin, and they're gonna have these like big glamorous...
You really think a lot of these women care for that? These are all wants that Western women want. Most women from other countries just want a good husband to take care of everything, to be a man of the house, to lead the family. They don't need these lifestyles that you're speaking of.
American lifestyles, and then they get here to this country and they realize that these men can't even afford to put a roof over their head. Because if these men could actually financially...
These men can't put a roof over their head, yet they're able to travel.
Support a family, they probably would have been with a woman in the United States. And there's actually somebody, I don't remember who said this originally, but it was very poignant, that a lot of these women are being promised the American dream and they're being brought into hell. Okay, this brings me into a part of this topic that this whole thing is going to be controversial, but I usually keep politics out of my content because I don't usually think that politics specifically really has any place in what I'm talking about as far as relationships. In this particular instance, I'm going to get a little political, and I realize that nowadays when you get political, it becomes very divisive. I'll just say this, I'm a conservative from way back. I very much lean to the right.
No,
I'm in a very, very liberal part of the country, so I very much
lean right, but that's about
know both sides of the argument. I know both sides of the issue. In this case, I'm going to focus more on the
You're such an expert of both sides, aren't you? You know?
Conservative side. So if you're somebody who has come from a more conservative background of leaning more to the right politically, typically the values of that party have been a small government, small business, strong borders, strong military, states' rights, things like that. And I have had a few requests of talking about the masculine and the feminine from a liberal conservative perspective. I'll see how this goes, and if people want me to talk about that, I absolutely will. Because I have a lot of thoughts on that. A lot of these red pill men or passport bros or that kind of world, not all of them, but I think many of them are claiming to be more to the right, or they're saying all the things that the people on the right are saying, but they don't actually understand what it means to be politically conservative in this country. Because most...
I don't think any passport bros have said they were leaning toward the right. They said they're probably a little bit more conservative on the conservative side, but they never said that they were just conservatives. I wouldn't call myself a conservative, but I do lean more towards that side. I used to be very liberal growing up, but as I got older, I got more conservative. Interesting.
Most of the actions that align with this passport bro phenomenon are about as anti-politically conservative as you can possibly get. I don't want to get into a whole thing with politicians, and I know that even mentioning Trump's name is very divisive. Whatever you think of him, that really is irrelevant to the conversation. The conversation is his slogan, "Make America Great Again," is one that many of them use. Many of them wear the hat, many of them, tout this, which...
Talking about the passport bros?
I don't disagree
I don't think
with.
a lot of passport bros are wearing
part
MAGA
of making
hats.
America great again is for every person to become a good American citizen, to actually work on making a...
That is not what that slogan means, to make everyone great again. No, it means to make the country great again, lady.
America, a prosperous, powerhouse nation like we always have been. Part of that is being a good American citizen, and I actually saw this guy, I don't remember who it was, but someone was sharing clips of this guy who was talking about the reason why men are having such bad luck with internet dating or with dating apps and stuff. And he was like, it's because most men are not good citizens. And I was like, wow, if you want to support Trump and
Damn. Most men are not good citizens, huh? See? This is the thing that you women always want to say to us men. So why would we want to stay here? You literally think most men are some kind of pedo, some kind of rapist, some kind of danger to society, and they're not masculine enough, they don't make enough money, they don't meet the standards of the women here. Yet you guys make videos on us men and shit on us more, and for even the choices we make to leave. Ridiculous.
make America great again, as the slogan says, you gotta be a good American citizen. That's part of the...
No. Let's make America great again when the corporations bring back all the jobs to the U.S. When the government actually votes on things that the citizens want. When they fight against big pharma. When corporations are thrown out of the swamp. That's when America is great again. It doesn't take the citizens. The citizens are a freaking cog in the wheel. It's the people that are playing or activating these cogs, which are all the corporations. It doesn't matter if everybody's good citizens or not, lady. If the corporations want to drain the shit out of this country, they're going to drain the shit out of this country. Doesn't matter if I'm a nice guy or a bad guy.
The American dream of making America great again is being a man who can protect and provide for his family. So if you as a man are not in the position to be able to protect and provide for a family, whether it's with an American woman or whether it's with a woman from another country...
Look at her. Just do it, men. Why are you failing? Why aren't you masculine enough? Why can't you provide for the family?
You're not really living up to the slogan that you claim to support. In addition...
She's claiming so much shit. She claims that we claim that we're MAGA hat wearers and stuff, and claiming that we support... the mental gymnastics is crazy.
You don't think that other countries who have always had their eye on America, because when you are as powerful as America is, when you are as powerful as the United States every country is looking to you.
Yet we still get attacked by terrorists from countries that don't want anything to do with us. They don't want the Western ideas. They don't want the westernized degeneration of their country. But yet you think all countries want to mimic the U.S. But yet the other powerful countries are nothing like the U.S.
Some for inspiration, some for guidance, some as a litmus test for the way that the world is going, and some to take us out. I mean, that's what happens when you're such a high-profile country. You don't think that other countries aren't looking at us and laughing and being like, wow, American men can't even please their women?
That's not what they're looking at. They're not looking at American women can't please their women. They're looking at American women can't please their men and they're leaving. They're putting it on the women. This is how we know you've never traveled. How actually people view things. Like the men are leaving, not because they are inadequate. They're leaving to look for more suitable wives. People view the U.S. as dying because women are so far off in the deep end. And people are worried about their own women.
Like, obviously they're not going to be able to defend their country. It's not making America look very good. Let's be real. I don't think that other countries are looking at us and going, wow, their women are too tough. Like, their women are too... Although...
They didn't say your women are too tough. Your women are too difficult. Your women are unrealistic. If 80% of all women want like $100,000 earner, and there's only less than 5%, or about 5-10% of those men, where's the other 70% gonna do? Be alone and single, like they choose to be.
If you have a country where the women are all more aggressive than the men, and the women are more ambitious and more powerhouses than the men, it's probably not going to make, the military in other countries look at us with that much more respect, if you think about it, right? So overall, we're not really making America look very good on the surface. But also...
You really think passport bros really care about America? These are the people that have been shunned by America. And shunned by American politics, and shunned by American corporations, and shunned by the American government. We prefer to live in other countries because we can find ourselves having a better life than here.
I know this is going to be controversial, but a big aspect of being politically conservative is the belief in strong borders. Now, I'm not saying that there should not be proper procedures for people to be able to legally come into this country if they want to. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be open to this country, having people come in from other countries and possibly having a better life here. In reality, we are a country of immigrants. I mean, let's be real. I mean, that's what this country was kind of founded on, so to speak. And I know there's all kinds of controversy around how this country was founded. I'm not going to dive into that whole kind of thing because that's not where this video was meant to go. A big part of being politically conservative is believing in being able to protect your borders, being able to have strong borders to protect who comes in and out. And one of the reasons why we believe that is so that we don't get a bunch of terrorists coming into this country to start wars and destruction.
Oh man, I don't have much to say about this one really. I tell you, let's just laugh.
Here in this country. You don't think that other countries aren't going to see these passport bros going to these other countries and essentially buying these young women to bring them back here as their wives, and that some of these countries aren't going to either train some of these women...
What the fuck? Oh shit. We're talking about fucking national espionage and shit from passport bros? Is this what we're talking about? Holy shit.
To be terrorists. Or train these women to convince these men to bring their whole families over here and then have all their brothers or things like that come over and then... Look, I know this is controversial. If you believe in strong borders, but then you're deliberately going to other countries to buy people to bring them back here to be your wives, there's a problem with that. Like, there's a conflict there. Like, you can't align with a certain party politically and then have all your actions be the opposite of what you align with.
You already assume so much. You assume that we're conservative. We assume that we're on this party line. And when you assume that we go buy women, underage women, and then bring them back here, and you assume that people are going to train these women to be terrorists, or have a possibility of training these women to be terrorists, or we bring them over and we bring their family over and their families are terrorists. That's what you're thinking.
Politically. And I think there are a lot of these guys that are latching on to a political party that have no clue what it actually means to be a part of a certain political party.
I think most people have not latched to any political parties lately. I see a lot of conservatives leaving the red party. I see a lot of liberals leaving the blue party.
Essentially, if you are more politically conservative, and then again, keep getting more controversial, a big part of that is lower taxes. Lower taxes means fewer government programs, fewer people on things like welfare and government assistance programs. Now, I know there's a lot of technicalities with people who are from other countries that come here if they come here legally. I think there are a lot of aspects and ways that they can't get on government assistance programs. I don't know all the technicalities that go along with that. However, if you have these men going to other countries, essentially buying these women, let's be serious, let's call it what it is, buying these women, bringing these women over here to be their wife/slave, bringing them here, these women, especially if they're young women, probably gonna end up pregnant. Their children are born here, their children are gonna be American citizens. If you have a bunch of men who did this because they could not actually afford to support a family here, they're gonna be struggling.
Your assumptions are so crazy, lady. You just assume that every man is struggling and every wife that's gonna get brought here is just gonna be divorced and left as single mothers? Is that what you're thinking? You do know the immigrant population that does come here legally have the highest influence of, or that they use the least amount of government assistance. You do realize that, right? That most people that use the most government assistance is actually white people. Shocker. I know.
Wife's probably going to be struggling. She's probably going to have to find a job here, and if she doesn't really know the language or anything, or maybe doesn't have any skills or education, she's probably going to be struggling minimum wage. If the child's an American citizen, I don't know if there's a loophole there. I don't know, but you're probably going to breed more and more people, literally breed more and more people that are going to end up being on government assistance programs, and it's going to raise our taxes, which is the opposite of what a lot of these guys are claiming that they're voting for. Again, I think a lot of this comes down to a lot of these guys have just jumped onto this like politically conservative bandwagon and they have no idea what it actually means. I think a lot of them think that it's the party of personal freedom, but they don't realize it's also the party of personal responsibility. And they don't really believe that responsibility comes with the freedom. And a lot of them, I think, are just doing this for their own self.
Yeah, women thought process. Men know the consequences of their actions very well majority of the time. Women do not.
Selfish reasons. And somebody actually pointed out another really interesting aspect of this is you often hear from the men about doing this or how successful it is. I mostly hear about men that say that it's a better life but have never actually done it. But I guess the guys that have done this all claim that it's so great, but you very, very rarely hear from the women. Some of that might be a language barrier. I don't know.
She wants to say all these things, but obviously when I cover things, there's plenty of women that are passport bro wives and plenty of women, foreign women that welcome passport bros and want to marry passport bros. So whatever you're saying is completely false.
No, I think a lot of it is because I think a lot of these guys try to keep these women very isolated, which is usually a sign of abuse. They keep these.
You really think there's no social media out in these other third world countries that these women just have no clue about the world or how everything works? Is that what you really think? I'm positive that's what you guys think of these women.
Women very isolated because, well, for one, if these women actually saw how Americans live, they probably would want to live that way too, and would realize, which is another aspect I'll get to in a minute, would realize that the life that they were sold is not really what they're actually getting. You're not really hearing from these women, which is a little concerning that these women may not be okay. You could go down some really dark paths with that. But again, whatever your political beliefs are, this isn't about that. But because so many of these men who are red-pilled or passport bros, because there's so much overlap, and because they do claim that they align more with politically conservative people, the actual act of being a passport...
Because we align more with politically conservative people doesn't make us politically conservative ourselves. You do realize that, right?
Bro is as anti-politically conservative as you can get. And I know there's going to be people on here going to be like, Trump married foreign women. He did. He also did not go to other countries to purchase them. I don't know actually how he met Melania.
You really don't think he purchased me in Melania? There was some kind of transaction in that one.
But I'm sure she was not a mail order bride. I'm 100% positive of that. I also have heard the story of how he met Ivana, who's his first wife, and he did not go to another country to buy her. She actually escaped her country, which she was not allowed to leave legally, but she became an Olympic skier. and that was how she was able to leave her country, was on her own. Anybody who wants to sit there and act like Trump just went and bought foreign women does not know exactly about Ivana Trump and how unbelievably powerful a woman she was, which is valid to the conversation. Like, he was married to her for quite a significant amount of time, had 3 kids with her. She was not just some weak woman that he purchased from another country. She was a strong woman in her own right. I don't know a whole lot about Melania, but I do know she's quite well.
So you just literally think all women from third world countries are just not strong women? You think they're weak women? You literally just said that.
Educated. She speaks like a dozen languages or something, and I know he didn't just go to another country and buy her. That's not the situation, right? So again, like I said, none of this is about needing to marry somebody from the country that you're from. People fall in love from different countries, different cultures. There's so many dangerous aspects to this passport bro phenomenon that go so much deeper than just the idea of, oh, I'm having a difficult time finding a woman in the US, so let me go to another country and just find somebody else. There's so much that can go wrong. And the fact that so many men, I feel like, are jumping to the conclusion that, oh, American women are just, they're nervous that there's other women out there that are competition. Most of us American women are concerned about this, but not for the reasons why men think. We're not like, oh no, this man who can't protect and provide for us, like we want him to come and be with us. I do think there is an aspect too, there's a lot of women, particularly American women, who, like, it's our job, it's our role as women to make sure that we find a man that can protect and provide for us, because as women, we hold the full responsibility of birthing a human life and then nurturing an infant. We have to.
But yet most women are going to be alone and single with no children. Yeah, that's the problem that men have right now with the women in the West. You guys don't want kids. Most of us men do.
To find a man that can protect and provide for our family, we have to do that. If we don't, that's where things go awry. If women's standards were too high, that men always complain that they are, we wouldn't have a single mother epidemic in this country, because women would be choosing men who were actually committed and involved husbands and fathers. You know, we wouldn't be having women who are just hooking up with guys who are up and leaving them. We wouldn't have deadbeat dads. We wouldn't even have a child support.
You really don't know how this really works, does it? You really think all men out there are impregnating all these women? No, these women choose the top 10% of men and choose to have kids with them and choose to do all this. But they don't choose the average man. They don't choose the men that they don't see. And those are the men that are going away.
System, for God's sakes, because we wouldn't have to track men down to find child support. And I know this opens up a whole can of worms men are going to start whining about. I'm not going to get into that conversation here, as I want to keep it just about the passport bros. But there is a sense, I feel like there are a lot of American women who are like, hey, we need to hold men to a certain standard. And when men say, well, that's too high, I don't want to do it, and they go off.
No, you can hold your standard, but you don't meet our standards. Again, you can have high standards. No men are not upset about your high standards. We agree. Women should have high standards. But when it comes to the Chad, Ray, and Pookies, there is no standards. But when it comes to a normal average man, the standards are to the roof.
To try to find somebody easier. As men, you're not holding up your end of the bargain. Like, as women, we're doing our part. We're supposed to hold.
No, you're not. You're not traditional women. You have massive body counts. You don't want kids. You want to get married in your 30s. You're less gorgeous.
You to a high standard. We're not supposed to just give in and submit. And any man out there who was given the message that women are supposed to just submit to you for the sake of being a man has lied to you. As men, you are supposed to earn your masculinity. Comfort, an easy woman, an easy life, it destroys your masculinity. It's not what they keep feeding you. It's not what the Andrew Tates keep telling you of having a harem of easy women. That has nothing to do with your masculinity at all.
That's not what Andrew Tate says, but okay, lady.
I don't care what country you want to go to, what country you want to live in, or anything like that, but at the end of the day, find your purpose. Find your purpose, live your truth, work on yourself, heal your ego, and become the best version of yourself. Step into your masculine energy and become the best version of yourself. And the woman that is meant to be with you will be with you. I know this was a controversial topic. I know I'm going to get hate for this. I already know. But these are just things that had to be said, because this is such a dangerous, dangerous thing to be happening. Detrimental.
I'm done with this video. I mean, she had like 3 minutes left, but I'm just gonna end it here. But I did want to go over a comment down below that I think she's kind of not the brightest. So, so this comment here. This has got to be the most reckless dribble spewed at Passport Bros have ever seen. Congratulations. And you know her reply to this is? Thank you. She really has no clue, huh? How's that chow? I can't believe some of the things this lady said about us, and just some of the things she said in general. Some of the ignorance around us Passport Bros, or even men and what men want or what men do in society, is kind of interesting to hear it from women like this. She really doesn't like men. She thinks most of us are just pedos. Most of us are just bad actors. We're not good citizens. It is what it is, right? I mean, we just gotta take this in stride. We talk about it here and there, and then, move on to another country. Please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.